Newcastle United have a £45 million bid rejected for Anthony Elanga. Reports today that Newcastle have made a move. People have been waiting all month for it, have made a move, and it has been rejected. I'm going to talk about that in this video, as well as the fact that Newcastle continue to push to sign Trafford. João Pedro still in talks. Player of the season has been voted for and announced, as well as another friendly at St. James's Park ahead of the new season. Yes, guys, how's it going? Welcome back to Toon Tuesdays in a random location today. Your weekly roundup of Newcastle United news. A series that I've been running for, close to 10 years in many different locations. Today, on a random street corner, just outside of Durham, because I've been out and about with work today and the traffic is awful heading home. So I thought, you know what? I'll save myself the time. I'll record this video now, as it is essentially breaking news this afternoon that Newcastle have moved for Elanga and it has been rejected. And we'll start with that, but before we do, please be sure to go ahead and hit subscribe. Maybe you watch Toon Tuesdays every week but haven't hit the button. Help me out, hit the button. Help me afford a better studio than in my car, watching the rain and the gloom. And that is pretty much what the storyline is this afternoon. Elanga, a player that Newcastle were clearly keen on, has been reported for some time that we were looking in talks, interested in. In fact, with the plan to do this Toon Tuesdays today, I had actually been quite hopeful to talk about some positivity, as it's been reported today that Nottingham Forest are actually in to sign two new wingers. If I'm not mistaken, both of them from Juventus. So the thoughts was that Forest are basically bringing in replacements. We'll talk about something similar with João Pedro and similar with Trafford very soon. Obviously, sometimes the clues don't always equal what you hope it to be. But the thoughts were that Forest had moved for two new wingers in the last couple of days, which was effectively allowing Nottingham Forest to give Elanga the go-ahead. But the report is we've gone in for 45 million, so a decent chunk. The reported fee that Forest wanted was 50 million. What's actually been said this afternoon is that they actually want 60, but then in the same stroke have also said they have no plans to let him go this summer. So I think it's Forest playing hardball, to be honest. And why wouldn't you? They know Newcastle are interested. They know they've got a good player on their hands. They know that it's probably not just Newcastle who are interested. They know that other teams could well come in for him. I mean, it's like you never accept the first bid. You know, if I try and buy a knockoff shirt on holiday and the man goes £30, I go, or €30, I go €20. You know, this is just the way of the world. That's not just football. I think the hope was, because there's been talks, because it's been going on since, last summer, that we would have kind of had a bit more of a feel on where we needed to go. Unless the feel was that Forest wants 60 and we don't want to pay it, so we're the ones who go in with the lower offer. Maybe now the two teams try and find somewhere in the middle. The reports are that Newcastle could look to other options, but still lead a key interest in the player. So I mentioned this yesterday. I don't think the Elanga one was ever going to get sorted out overnight. I think, unfortunately, it's one that is going to take a little bit of time. Still a player that I would like us to see sign, but Semenyo, Dibbling, those are two Premier League players that we've been linked with. There is other foreign players that I think Newcastle should be looking at as well. And reports are the foreign player we were linked with yesterday isn't going as well as maybe we'd hoped. So reports were that Newcastle had turned their attention to Scavini, the centre-back at Atalanta, Italian 21-year-old. I think there was quite a flurry of excited Newcastle fans yesterday with those links, and the reports are Newcastle are still in for him. But similarly, Atalanta have said they have no interest in selling the player. Or, at the very least, they're saying that because they want us to pay a higher fee. The fee reported was fairly moderate. It was around 35 million. Bearing in mind, Gahey was on for 70, 80. It is one of these things where if you look abroad, you hope to get a reduced fee. But again, they're not daft, and he has been linked. I mean, he's been linked everywhere. Obviously, he's had a few injury issues. I think that's possibly dropped some of the interest from other teams. But in the past, he's been linked with Manchester City. In the past, he's been linked with Real Madrid. They went out and got Huijsen from Bournemouth instead. There is movement. There is interest. You know, I would love to see him join Newcastle United. I think he's a young talent. That's what we want to see, these players that Newcastle are looking at, 21, 22 years old. I guess the positive is that we're in there, we're out in the market, we're trying to find links. Those two seem to be, still a step away from being done. But two that looking ever closer are Trafford and João Pedro. So I mentioned earlier that Nottingham Forest have been linked with signing two wingers. Well, reports today have now essentially signed a new German goalkeeper. I think it's Weib, W-E-I-B, Webb. It's not even the real B, it's the one with the two lines on it. So yeah, a German goalkeeper from the, I think it's Bundesliga 2. So would that be a direct replacement for Trafford, or are they just bulking up the goalkeeper situation? Either way, again, I read into this with Elanga. Maybe it's not the case, but the reports are that Burnley have gone and found another goalkeeper, essentially allowing the move for Trafford to move to Newcastle to kind of go through. And similar with João Pedro as well. Brighton went out and bought their replacement striker. Now it looks like maybe Newcastle can get the Pedro one done. By all accounts, the Trafford one just continues to keep sounding. So they reckon the start of July. So we'll keep an eye out. Elanga having a bid rejected, 45 million. No, it's tough. It's slightly annoying to just not have a positive vibe in this video instead of starting it off with, we've had a bid and it's been rejected. But as I've mentioned already, it's football, it's business, it's buying players. Things often aren't as easy as they always seem. But we do have some positive news in this video, because Player of the Season has been announced as voted by the fans. And who else could it be but that boy from Blythe? Dan Burn wins Player of the Season. They've had a whole host of these different kind of votes. I think it was Haircut of the Season, Best Dressed of the Season. Well, Dan Burn was the man who won Player of the Season. And he's been a little bit all over at the minute, hasn't he? If you haven't seen it already, he did the Jake Humphreys podcast talking about obviously his rise, like being knocked back from Newcastle at the age of 11, coming back to Newcastle at the age of 32. The pressure he felt going into that cup final. I mean, tell me about it, Dan. I felt it as well, as we all did. I'm sure he felt it a little bit more than most. So to score that goal is just an absolute dream come true. And to be stood, with the trophy in a bottle of water because he'd been called up to play for England that same weekend. It's an absolute whirlwind. It's such a love story. Absolutely loved it. And he does go into kind of his struggles as well, and how hard it was. I think it was after kind of moving down to Darlington, or was it? He was at Fulham and then moved to Wigan for a chance there, and was really struggling with his kind of mental health and stuff. It's good. It's like an hour and a half. If you haven't seen it, go check it out after you've finished watching this video. But yes, who else could it be but that man to get Player of the Month? As well, Newcastle, in my eyes, have been a little bit naughty with the friendlies. They've been pushing for a while now, the Newcastle versus Atletico Madrid friendly at St. James's Park ahead of the new season, which is on, as I look for my phone to check the date, I think it's the 9th. Is it the 9th? It's the Saturday. It's the weekend before the Premier League season starts. We've been doing this every year. Newcastle having these friendlies at St. James's. Back when there used to be, a fiver with Mike Ashley. These days, you're talking 20 quid, is it? You get the women's game, you get the men's game. They're both on the same day. They tried having one on 2 days, struggled with capacity, and they made it one this year. And I thought, you know what? Atletico Madrid, one friendly. It's good. It's clever. Making sure I had my mic on there, which I do. It's good. It's clever because you're not overdoing it. And they've been pushing. It's going to sell out soon. Make sure you get your ticket. Don't miss out. The minute it sells out, there's another friendly. Well, so this has been announced, and there's plenty of tickets available. So if you didn't get one for the Atletico Madrid, you can go on the Friday night. So the day before, we are playing Espanyol. So there is going to be a double header, Friday night, Saturday night. I have got my Saturday ticket. I'll see how I feel on the Friday. I think if I fancy doing both. As I mentioned, I did both last year. They actually didn't open level 7 for the games last year because, despite obviously the want for tickets from fans right now, friendlies are just a little bit different, aren't they? And they don't always grab the crowd. If it was Atletico Madrid and Barcelona, I'd be there for both. And I thought that's why they'd really smashed it with Atletico Madrid. Eddie Howe and Simeone arguing on the sideline, hugging on the sideline probably because it's a friendly, to then put a Friday on as well. I don't know, seemed a little bit much from me. But it's revenue, it's for the club, and you know what? However many they sell, it's money back in the coffer for the club. And with regards to the start of the season, the players are getting ready to return. In fact, reports are that Lewis Hall's already back. Obviously, Lewis Hall had suffered with an injury. Reports are that he's actually already back at the training ground on the grass, making his way ready in the hopes to have a proper pre-season, which is massive for us. Like, don't get me wrong, Tino was arguably better at left back than he was at right back. But had Lewis Hall not got injured, I think he could have been up there for player of the season. I think Dan Burn, obviously, just the romance of it, was always going to win it. But really, until his injury, I thought it could well be Lewis Hall. So to have him back is great. And they reckon that the full team will be returning on the 7th of July. So they've got about 2 weeks longer off before they head back. And you know what? If we could have someone else, Elanga, Pedro, Scavini, Trafford, you look at them four. I mean, if that was our four for a summer, I'll be a pretty happy man. And maybe, a couple of, I want to go big. I always try and be realistic with 1 or 2 signings. Like, let's not get over it. Like, I think this is the summer. I think this is the summer where we'll have a big change-up. Eddie Howe doesn't like it. Eddie Howe likes to keep players forever. He never wants to let anybody go because and it's a good thing. Dan Burns spoke about this in his recent interview about Southgate treating England like a club because the players are growing together, they love each other, they fight for each other. Really he had a tough time ever getting involved because he was never part of the setup. Thomas Tuchel's come in, he's mixed it up. Whether he's mixed it up right or wrong, it's not working, is it? Because we haven't done very well. But he's bringing in players who are just here to win. I like that Eddie Howe runs it like a club, obviously. Eddie Howe wants players to fight for each other. Dan Burns saying that, Joe Linton talked about his story from Brazil, him talking about his story growing up in Blythe. The players get on and it works. And that's why I think Eddie Howe's always scared to make too many changes to a squad. But I just feel like this year we've got, Jamal Lewis is gone. It looks like we're going to lose a couple of goalkeepers. I think Target needs to get moved on. We're freeing up some good space there. And I think we should use it. I think 2 or 3 key players, 2 or 3 Premier League proven smashers. Elanga, Pedro, Trafford. And then another couple of foreign players. And I'm not looking at going, well, they need to come in and play. The 3 Premier League or proven players need to come in and smash it immediately for me. But then after that, let's be brave. 1 or 2 youngsters from foreign leagues. One of the ones we've been linked with, actually, which really should have made it in this video far sooner until it's just popped into my head, is the young South Korean lad, 18 years old, being linked to Newcastle United. Now, we've just brought Cordero in from Spain as well. He's another youngster that looks like Newcastle are bringing in the hope to train up. I don't think he'll enter the squad. I think he'll be another player joining the youth setups. But if you can be part of pre-season and get involved, give the guy a whirl. So I'm talking about a little bit up from that. I'm talking about a Scavini who, probably is not really in that low budget mark, still 30 million, but there's got to be some out there. We've been good. We've done well with the French league at Newcastle in the past. Let's be brave. 10 million, 12 million. Let's give it a go. But that was Toon Tuesdays from me in the car. So I hope you're watching the rain drizzle down the windscreen. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. As always, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thoughts on the Elanga bid rejected at 45 million? Do you think that's enough? Should Newcastle move on? There's other options out there. Or is it a case of we'll go 50, we'll go 60? Should we just pay 60 and have him? It's a tough one. Thoughts and comments down below. Thanks for watching, guys. As always. And I'll catch you later.